Hello, everyone, and welcome to Time Capsule, right here on the Games Done Quick Hotfix. It's the show where we travel back in time to your favorite years in gaming and showcase awesome speedruns of games released in the same year. I am your host, Smooth Operative. Tonight, we are taking a little hop, skip, and a jump to the year 2021 with speedruns of a game called Grime, and later, Psychonauts 2. But as always, before we get into these fascinating speedruns, let's cover a few announcements. First off, SGDQ 2023 is coming up May 28th through June 4th, live from Minneapolis, Minnesota. If you are interested in attending the event, registration is open from now until May 3rd. You can go to gamesdonequick.com for more information on that. And keep in mind that the SGDQ 2023 games list is out, and the schedule will be released tonight. So you can all start planning very soon. Again, go to gamesdonequick.com for more information, or use the command !SGDQ right here in the Twitch chat for more information. But right now, my friends, it is Grime time. So please allow me to introduce our very first runner of the evening, Mathulu. Hi.
Hello, and thank you so much for the introduction. I'm very excited for SGDQ. I hope chat is as well.
Yes.
But yes, welcome in everybody. Today we are running Grime, a wonderful Metroidvania meets a Souls-like game. It's got RPG elements, it's got teeth, what's not to love? It's a fantastic game, and I'm excited to show it off here. So I'm going to jump right on in. We do start from a new file. We are basically running any %/good ending for this game, so timing will start when I select a new file. So let's get going in 3, 2, 1, go.
Good luck.
Thank you. All right, so the developers very kindly allow us to skip the opening cutscene, so I'm sorry you will not be able to see it, but what we will get is a very slow credits roll as we reform our body here. So this is a bit of a strange game. I'm not going to deny it, but I'll try to walk you through a little bit of the lore and what the heck is going on. So we are a black hole. Strange way to start, I know, but trust me, it'll kind of make sense as we go. We are currently forming our body. We're reforming. We've been dropped from a great height. You'll see this happen as I accidentally fall off ladders from quite high up throughout the run, I am sure. But once we finally have our body back, we can actually start to move. And I'm going to start by immediately using a bit of speed tech, which is called a shine dash. So let me explain that a little bit. If you look up in my top left-hand corner, you will see two bars. The red one is my health, and the green/blue one is my stamina. The dash takes quite a bit of stamina. It's also called force by the game, so you may hear me refer to it as that. We don't like having only a few dashes, so if I was using regular dashes, I'd only be able to dash 3 times before running out of stamina. So one of the major pieces of speed tech in this game is a trick where instead of dashing forward, we trick the game into allowing us to basically backstep forward. The game does have backsteps, and they take far less stamina than the dash. Unfortunately, it requires 2 very quick inputs, so you're going to see me accidentally either jumping or backstepping quite a lot. That's when I'm failing it. Trust me, it's hard. But yeah, who we saw there was the first and primary NPC of the run, Jan. We will be meeting a couple of other individuals as we progress in our journey, but Jan is sort of a friend, at least for now. Jan is going to help us out early on. He is a little bit obsessed with how we look. He thinks we're gorgeous. I mean, we are, so, he's correct about that, but he's a little bit over-obsessed. But he will help us out by giving us a weapon, which is going to start sort of the main combat of the game. So we're going to be using, obviously, weapons throughout everything. Up to this point, I have only been using an absorb ability. As a black hole, we do have the ability to absorb just about everything, and as you'll see, we will do, in fact, exactly that. But for now, what we're doing is absorbing enemy attacks. It's effectively a parry mechanic. This pot is absolutely ruining my day. It's effectively a parry mechanic, and it's very, very essential to basically all the fights. So we are going to be absorbing just about everything that we can when we're fighting enemies. But yeah, those are sort of the basic mechanics. Again, you're going to see me doing a lot of this shine dashing. You'll notice that I am not using stamina, or not using much stamina when moving forward if I'm getting it correct, and when I'm failing it, I'm going to be jumping or backdashing, as I mentioned there. I promise it's hard. I'm only a little bit bad. But yeah, we are basically just moving through the tutorial area. Right here, we're picking up another weapon. We're actually not going to use that weapon for basically anything except one quick little skip that we're going to need it about 15 minutes into the run. This frantic is behaving. I also want to say something about these frantics. These enemies are some of the hardest enemies to absorb in the game. They have very, very quick attacks and almost no tell to them. They are also the enemy that, first of all, it doesn't respawn. There's 2 of them here, and then some more that are extremely hidden. And they drop an ability that allows you to see secret areas. I think that is a very questionable game decision, because if you don't absorb these first 2 enemies, then you actually lose access to that ability unless you happen to find the already hidden secret ones. That's a very, very big source of frustration. If you play this game, make sure you kill those with an absorb and not with your weapon. And I'll talk a little bit more about how that works in just a little bit. But we have one more weapon to pick up here in the tutorial area. This is the Bellow Mace. The Bellow Mace is my beloved weapon. We're not going to use it at all, except to, once again, do a couple of skips. So, unfortunately, it's not a particularly good weapon, but it is actually very useful for gaining additional height in the air. Hello. Okay. This is the first boss of the game. This is Amalgam, and it's a bit of a tutorial boss. It teaches us that even bosses are able to be absorbed. So the basic idea behind this boss is we are going to attack it with our maul axe as often as we can, and absorb with whichever hand is allowing us to do so. I didn't talk yet about the different types of attacks that enemies have, but there are some attacks like that, which are red. That means we cannot absorb them or parry them if you're thinking with more typical language. And then attacks which are not red. Anything that isn't red is absorbable. And this is sort of kind of like, it's hard to overstate just how true that is. Even things that look like you should have absolutely no chance of parrying them, if they aren't colored red, you can still parry them. And we're going to be using that on a few bosses later on. But this is a pretty easy boss. It's obviously teaching you about how to fight bosses in this game and how the absorbs work. But yeah, now we're going to move on. We've picked up our first ability, but it's not much of an ability at all. It is something called Ardor, and it's represented by this number up in the top left of my screen. This is actually going to be very important to us, although it is not very important to a casual playthrough, but I'm going to do just a quick little skip here. We quit to menu while entering a cutscene trigger here. This skips this cutscene, which is otherwise about 30 seconds long. So let me talk a little bit about Ardor. That number in the top left-hand corner is a number that natively all it does is increase basically the experience effectively that we get from enemies. So it's not particularly helpful for that purpose in the speedrun. However, there is one ability that we're going to get, which is going to allow us to use that Ardor to scale our damage. So when we have a high level of Ardor, then we'll be able to deal up to, I believe, 45% extra damage with the level of the trait we're going to get in this run. And that is a lot, obviously. So this is actually why I'm killing all of these enemies here. These are wretches. The way that traits work in this game, you need to kill an enemy to basically absorb its power, to learn its particular traits. These wretches have the trait that I'm talking about. They will allow the damage to scale based on your ardor, and that is obviously something that we want. Unfortunately, we need to kill 8 wretches in order to get access to it. So I do have to go a little bit out of my way to kill some of them, but it is pretty important. Now, ardor has another couple of characteristics. So I mentioned that it increases the experience gain. The currency is called mass in this game. It's equivalent to souls from Dark Souls or any other similar system. But don't have any stamina. But basically, we don't care too much about that. We only care a little bit. What we do care about is that when we die, we actually lose all of our ardor. So that's a problem because it takes a while to build back up. The only way that we build it up is by killing enemies or absorbing them. So we really want to try not to die as much as possible, or our damage will take a pretty significant hit. It's not the end of the world if it happens, but it is pretty rough. So yeah, it's kind of a surprisingly punishing death mechanic in the speedrun, because when you play the game casually, you don't really have to worry about ardor and the fact that you lose it after dying at all, because you don't care too much about that damage buff. But in the speedrun, it becomes suddenly very, very significant. Okay, this is the first significant trick of the run, so I'm going to be showing. Hopefully it'll work. Okay, so what we're doing here is hitting this explosive ball out of the air and trying to get it to hit. There we go. Trying to get it to hit that breakable wall. We're not supposed to be able to do this yet, but luckily with the power of a slightly too long-ranged weapon, it does work. For some reason, it almost never works on the first try. It's always the second try that I get it. Allegedly, there are ways to make that consistent, but I haven't yet discovered them. All right, I haven't talked about these either. These are surrogates. So these are effectively your bonfires from a Dark Souls game. They will save your progress and also allow you to level up. So here I am going to... Wait, did I not? Oh, I'm a little bit short on map, but that's okay. I'll fix that soon. These will allow us to both grow the traits that I talked about, including the one that will increase our damage, and also to gain basic stats like damage-based stats like strength or dex, and also stats like force, which is your stamina, or just pure health. So we're obviously going to be getting quite a few levels during this run. Most of our mass is going to come from bosses, but there's a few... did not mean to do that. That's okay. There's a few different places that we can actually pick up distinct mass pickups, and that will help us a little bit as well. Here I'm going to pick up the main weapon that we're actually going to use for the run, which is the bow daggers. So those bow daggers are essential for us. We are going to use them for pretty much the entire rest of the game. But first, I have this little trick, which is why we picked up the Twin Fangs at all. So that allows us to get out of Gloom Nest. We got in with one trick and out with another. That was an area we were not at all supposed to be in, but it allows us quick access to the first section of the game that we otherwise would not have had access to. Okay, I might actually go ahead and kill this one, because I do need a little bit more mass. Just need to damage it enough. This is actually a good showcase of the way the health bars work. So you may have noticed that that health bar was broken into 3 distinct sections. And the way those sections work is when you absorb an enemy, it brings it only down to the next section. So you can't take out basically all of their health with a single absorb. You instead have to do it in pieces. And that's what we did there. So now I can go ahead and actually equip the weapon that we wanted, which is the bow daggers. Okay, so this is actually the area that we're supposed to be in. This is required for us to progress, at least without any major glitches. So we need to go pick up another major ability. And there's a boss in the way called the Mothers. This is actually one of the more tragic parts of the early game, if you pay attention to the lore at all. Basically, this entire town is alive because of these mothers. They have sort of put life into the rocks, which were otherwise not living at all. And unfortunately, they're quite mad at us, but they have very, very cute... Oop, I did not mean to use that. That's okay. They have very, very cute art classes and friends like the rock giant that is completely harmless. And we come in and we decide we actually need to get past them. So we're going to use our power as a black hole to basically ruin everything for them. It's kind of tragic, and it kind of is a hint to what will come. So I'm sorry to say that in this game, we might not actually be the good guy, but we'll do our best to dissuade those feelings as we go. Okay, so this is the second major boss of the game. These are the Mothers, and I want to try to deal as much damage as I can there with the bombs that I picked up early. I was a little too far to the right, so we didn't get quite the full damage, but that's okay. They still die pretty quickly. There we go. That was interesting. And they actually have a second phase. So this is pretty standard for bosses in this game. They have 2 phases. Can you get out of the spikes there? Thank you. Please come over here. Yeah, so not all bosses will have a second phase, but most of them will. And often it's a little bit tricky. Usually it comes with another health bar, and it can be kind of difficult, but luckily with Mothers, the second phase is actually the easier of the 2 phases, so we got trolled a little bit by patterns there, but in the end we were able to finish it off. Okay, so this unlocks the second major ability in the game, which is the pole ability. And this is where we really start to see some of the Metroidvania aspects of the game. There were a lot of areas that were locked off by the lack of an ability to pull, and that is why we needed to come here and pick up that ability. So we now have access to the main hub of the game, and that's where we're going to head next. So we get to ride this lovely little hand elevator up there, and this one is honestly very scenic. I think, honestly, this game is an absolutely beautiful game. It obviously has an art style that can be slightly off-putting to some people, but I think this game is actually gorgeous. And if you look at a scene like this, you can kind of see why. But yeah, where we're heading up to is the world pillar, which is sort of the central hub. We're also going to meet what is probably the most significant NPC in the game. We're going to walk directly on past Jan, who we met earlier, and talk to Shidra, who will basically be our quest giver for the rest of the game. Shidra is going to tell us where to go, what to do, how to do it, basically everything we need to know. So let's go ahead and talk to Shidra. Shidra also has the distinct advantage of being able to upgrade our weapons, and we are going to take we're going to do that as much as we can. In this run, we actually do max out a weapon that's to +6, but we've picked up enough upgrade materials here to bring our weapon to +4 to start. That's going to help us a lot as we go into the next area. So from this point on, we have a particularly powerful weapon, and it also comes with the extra bonus from the Ardor as long as I don't die or actually even get hit. So that's another thing I didn't talk about. You take a minor hit to your Ardor when you take a hit, But luckily, that's only a couple of points, so we can usually get it back pretty quickly. Okay, so this next area is Nerve Root, and it is a bit of a rough area when you're learning this game casually. Luckily, over time, it does become easier. I do actually want to grab some safeties here. These are effectively full heals, and that will give me a little bit more wiggle room in some of the early parts of the game. But yeah, this area can be really rough when you're coming through here for the first time. There's a new concept introduced, which is blue electricity. That electricity means that you cannot dash through the, you cannot dash through it. And that's pretty rough when you are moving through here for the first time, because the electricity actually turns on and off, and it can be very easy to mistime things. And you may see me dunk in electricity once or twice. I promise it's part of the route or something. So yeah, we'll head on over here. This is another surrogate that we're taking. There are a few of these that we're grabbing throughout the run. Some of these are actually necessary, and some of them are safety surrogates. This is one that's necessary as part of the routing, because the way that this game works is when you die, you'll respawn at this surrogate, which means that I want to do everything that I can to make sure that I can use it for routing, basically. I don't want to have to take another surrogate somewhere else and have to respawn there instead. Instead, I want to basically be able to death warp back here. We're not actually going to death warp in the first part of this game, because I do want to preserve that ardor. As I mentioned, if I die, I lose all of it, and that's a big damage loss. So instead, I'm going to be using that item I picked up a second ago, which is called Levelam Dust. It returns me to my surrogate without costing me all my ardor. But that means I don't actually get to take another one of those bonfires or benches or whatever you want to call the save points until after the next boss. So I have to be a little bit careful in this next part. If we do die, it's a bit of a run back, but luckily nobody's ever died in Feaster's Lair. I will warn really quickly here, if you are at all bothered by teeth or anything of that sort, then it might be a good time to maybe look away. This area is the tooth area. It is Feaster's Lair, and we are going to be doing all sorts of teeth-related things here, pulling them out of the ground. These ones here are not even the teeth you're worried about. You can see we pulled it out of the wall here. These are teeth we're jumping through. There's a lot of teeth. I promise it's not the whole game, it's just this section, but it can be a little bit rough if that is not your vibe. So definitely don't feel bad if you want to tune out for the next 2 or 3 minutes, and I promise we'll be out of there soon. I really like this area. Personally, I know obviously the teeth can be off-putting to some, but for me, this area is pretty cool. The aesthetic of it is a little bit gross, but I think it's really well done, actually. Okay, we are going to take a very brief detour here to fight this enemy here, which is called a Tongue Brute. And this enemy has another trait for us that we want. Luckily, we only need to kill one of them for that trait, and that trait actually also pays for itself, which is especially convenient. But what that is going to do is give us another bit of additional damage after we use a pull. So I didn't talk about how the pull ability works both on, things in the environment, like these teeth for pulling out of walls, but also on enemies. So you can actually pull enemies when they have the yellow circle around them. And that is very, very convenient. And basically the other half of the parrying. So of course I mentioned that this game has a lot of parrying in the form of absorbing. Most bosses are able to be parried. Most bosses are also able to be pulled. So those are the two things that we're doing. The trait I just picked up will give us extra damage after a pull. Okay, so here I am going to fight the third boss of the run, and this one is called the Vulture. This is a pretty rough boss when you're playing casually, but this is where some game knowledge helps. So that attack that I just parried, for example, it may not be obvious that you can parry it, and also the fact that we have an insane amount of damage from an early +4 weapon, plus the ardor bonus makes this fight pretty quick. So, as I said, most bosses in this game have 2 phases. I'm getting really rude patterns here in phase 2. The first phase went basically immediately. The second phase is pretty painful, so we're going to work our way through it. But the way that this works is the vulture will summon 3 sets of ads, and we simply need to kill all of those enemies. Once they're dead, then we are done with vulture. You can see the vulture's health going down as part of that. That was a bit greedy, but I got away with it. Okay, so here's the final one. This final phase has only a single enemy in it, and we are able to get the kill. Okay, so that's vulture. So luckily that is probably the most dangerous part of the run. If you die before this part, like I said, you're not able to grab any safety benches, any safety surrogates. After this, we can grab as many safeties as we want, luckily. So I will go ahead and be doing that for the sake of the show, but everything has gone pretty smoothly so far. So at this point, now that I've got our new boss killed and our new ability, I'm going to use that item I mentioned before to return right back onto this surrogate. This is why I couldn't take any safeties along the way, but now we are nice and safe. The ability that we got there is a very useful one. It is the air dash, and believe me when I say the game feels so much better after you pick up air dash than before that you do. I think basically anyone who's played any kind of platformer is well aware that air dash is pretty essential to good feeling in platforming sections. And before this, I was not able to dash in the air. Now I can dash both off the ground and then once again in the air, and it's very, very nice. But yeah, basically we're just following the intended order of bosses here. After we kill the vulture, we need to actually go and pick up yet another ability, which is going to be the grapple ability, before we can pick up the next item from the fetch quest. That is going to be at a boss in the Carven Palace, which is coming up next. So I will have a bit of a walking section to get there, and then we'll be well into the palace, and we'll fight probably my favorite boss. Also, if you were tuned out because of the teeth, I promise they're over at this point, so you can feel free to tune back in. I swear, it's a pretty game. It's a good game. But yeah, we're back at Shidra. Shidra, once again, is going to be our sort of contact point for basically the entire run. We're going to keep returning to them and asking them where to go. Shidra will keep giving us answers, and I can't read any of them because I am playing the game in a language I do not understand because it is faster. But yeah,
I was going to ask, but I guess you just answered it.
Yeah. The game is fastest in Chinese, and I do not personally speak or read Chinese at all.
Can I ask, did you learn the speedrun in Chinese, or did you learn it in English first?
I started running it in English. Actually, when I started running this game, nobody had timed the languages at all.
Oh.
So I started learning the run in English, and then I basically, after a few runs, I said, like, okay, but there's so much dialogue we have to mash through. Like, you can see all of this dialogue. I wouldn't be surprised if one of the other languages is faster. I tested all of the languages that are available in the game, and Chinese ended up being the fastest. But yeah, it was something that I was at least used to. My primary speed game is Hollow Knight, and that game is also run in Chinese for exactly the same reason. The dialogue is simply faster to go through there. I'm going to go ahead and grab this safety just in case here. So I expected some other language to be faster, as is usually the case in speed games. But yeah.
How does something like Grime compare to Hollow Knight as a speedrun? Did you find any different kind of challenges? I know they're both sort of Metroidvanias, but...
Yeah, I would definitely say that this game is a little bit more punishing, at least depending on the categories that you want to run from Hollow Knight or from other Metroidvanias. Grime is a pretty combat-focused game, so there's really, really difficult boss fights, and it can be a little bit challenging when you're learning the run to have to try to do those boss fights without, ever taking a single death if you're trying to do the optimal route. So it's definitely tricky. When I started learning the game, we did not have to worry about that because we didn't actually use Ardor or the Wretch trait at the time, but we realized that 40% bonus is a little bit too good to pass up, so we started incorporating it into the run, and that definitely made the run a little bit trickier. I think this game has a solid amount of platforming in it in the later section of the game once we get all of our movement abilities, but definitely not as much as a game like Hollow Knight or some other Metroidvanias might do. Right. But yeah, it definitely leans into the boss fights more. So if boss fights are your vibe, I would say Grime is a pretty fun game to learn, a pretty fun speed game. I like the bosses in this game. I think they're all pretty interesting, and they're fun to fight fast, honestly.
Now, do you have a story about how you got into speedrunning just in general?
Yeah, a little bit. So, back in good old March of 2020, I was suddenly finding myself with quite a bit more free time and quite a bit more time at home. I had played Hollow Knight casually, and I was looking for basically something to occupy my time. I started to look into the speedrun for Hollow Knight, mostly because the game had a speedrun achievement. It was to complete the game in under 5 hours. So for reference, the any % run of Hollow Knight is like 30 minutes. So 5 hours is a little bit generous for that game, but it was the right level of challenge, I think, for me, a complete beginner to speedrunning, and somebody who didn't want to go and look up an official route, just try to run the game, just try to play it fast. So I did that, and I thought it was fun. And then I thought, well, maybe I should try to see if I could do it faster. And thus a speedrunner was born, I suppose.
and you certainly did, it sounds like.
Yes. So, oops, that was supposed to be a shine dash. That's okay. But yeah, it's definitely been a pretty long journey with speedrunning since then. But I spent a long time just playing the game more, playing the game slightly faster, and then getting into other games as time has gone on. I think it's fun to mix it up, play a bunch of different games, see what's out there. Oops.
Yeah, see what you vibe with.
Exactly. But yeah, I think, the general rule, I think, is if you're looking to get into running any game, just pick whatever game you feel like playing a bunch, because that's what you're going to have to do.
Yes, absolutely.
All right. So this section here, I haven't really talked about the palace at all. But a lot of what's in the palace is sort of chaperoning these platforms around, and that's what we're doing here. This one is the first section, and it's actually one of the longer ones. So I'm going to take a moment to open this just in case I screw anything up. That will make it faster to come back. But yeah, we're basically trying to get to the top of this where our next boss awaits. So it's a pretty fun time. I do like this next boss. It is one of the more interesting bosses in the game. But there are some who may also be slightly disturbed by their appearance. But I promise it's not until the final phases, so you'll have ample warning. But yeah, we're just moving through here. I'm going to once again just be dashing and shine dashing as much as possible. I didn't talk about, my jump was eaten, but it's okay. I didn't talk at all about how, that's not where I meant to be. Let's kill you. There we go. I didn't talk about how shine dashes actually don't or give you any iframes. So it's kind of important in a lot of sections like this, because if I try to dash through an attack, I can be in deep trouble, because what can happen is because the shine dash doesn't give me any iframes, I will simply get hit by the attack. And not only that, but it tends to usually interrupt your shine dash at that point. So it causes all sorts of problems. You really want to avoid it if you can. So I do try to mix in when I'm doing a regular dash and when I'm doing a shine dash. This is one of the more complicated bits of movement in the game, and I'd say definitely something that took me a while to learn when I was starting to learn the game. I mentioned that the shine dashes are pretty quick button presses, but one more thing that we have to do is actually keep a completely neutral direction while we do them. So to backdash in this game, you have to not be pressing forward, or back for that matter, because if you press back, it'll simply dash backwards, which is separate from a backdash, of course. Sorry if that's confusing, but what we need to do is basically let go of a direction and then repress it as soon as we start the shine dash in order to get the most distance out of it. So it's a really, really tricky bit of movement, and especially when you're mixing in regular dashes, it can be pretty hard. But it's also very satisfying once you start to get it. But yeah, we're actually near the end of this here. I'm going to be taking a slight bit of a safety here, although it may not seem like it at the time because I'm about to go through a whole bunch of spikes. This is to upgrade my weapon the final time. So in the actual optimal run at the moment, we only upgrade it to +5, but just safeguarding against any unfortunate deaths that cause me to lose my ardor damage bonus, I'm going to go ahead and pick up the extra damage for my weapon. We're also going to go ahead and open this door, which will allow me to quickly retry the boss if I die. All right, so yeah, this is the next boss. This is Shapely Fidus, and Shapely Fidus is very pretty, but has a hand for a head. It's a little bit disturbing, and I will warn you, the hand turns into something relatively spider-like in the second phase, so if you have any kind of, arachnophobia or any avoidance to spiders, it might be good to avert your eyes for the next minute or so. But Shapely Fidus is a pretty fun boss. It's a boss that is being very rude to me at the moment. That's okay. That I struggled with quite a bit casually. Actually, fun story there. I fought this boss before I even started playing the game casually. It was the first experience I had with the game, so that may color my impression of this boss just a little bit, but I promise it's a fun boss nonetheless. So this is technically a second phase for Fidus, but the real second phase comes after we deplete the health bar, like with most bosses. So now that we've depleted the health bar, you'll see what happens. The head of Fidus, which is actually just this hand, will break off and start coming after us. This is a simply wait it out and survive phase. We cannot deal any damage at all, but basically Fidus has lost their body and instead is this sort of dismembered hand and is going to die of their own accord here. So we just needed to dodge for a little bit, and it's basically an auto-scroller that can sometimes kill you. Okay, so that was Fidus, and if you were scared of spiders, you can return now, and I promise that's the last bad thing left in the game. Okay, so now I'm going to actually make use of the ability to actually death warp, not use the level am dust like we did after the vulture. If you have been paying attention, you may realize that this will get rid of all my ardor, and if you are astute, you may notice that the number in the top right corner now reads 0. That did in fact get rid of all of my ardor. That is obviously not good. We need that damage bonus later, but we have a way to get it back, which is going to be through using a consumable item that we're going to pick up in this section of the run. So luckily we'll be able to very good patterns from this enemy here. Luckily, we'll be able to get back to full ardor just before the next boss. Here we're using the fast travel system in the game. These are the nerf passes. There is another fast travel system in the game which allows me to warp to any surrogate that I've been to, but it's an optional upgrade, and we are not picking it up in this run. But yeah, this is actually a nice bit of platforming section here. So this is a little bit of a cooldown from the boss heavy first half, at least in my opinion. We get to we do have to dodge a lot of enemies, but we work our way down through the garden into Child Bed, which is where we're going to pick up the next piece of the fetch quest that Shidra has given to us. So we're going to be working our way through here for just a little bit, and this is where you do start to feel, you know, more of the Metroidvania aspects and, you know, fewer of the Souls-like aspects. I think this game does a good mix of those two things. When you're fighting the bosses, you really do feel the fact that you know, there are RPG elements that you've got to worry about, you know, your vulnerability windows, all sorts of things that you would worry about if you're playing a Dark Souls game. And then in the exploration phases, it really feels like a regular Metroidvania, and I think that's a pretty good mix to me. Oops. Oh. Okay. So if you fall too far, you shatter. I alluded to that earlier, but I think that might have been the first time it happened. That was an interesting one where it let me grab the platform. So usually you just shatter before you even start to grab the platform. Oops, didn't want to grab that. Instead, I did not shatter there. It let me grab the platform, and then it said, oh, wait a second, you should have shattered, and just killed me anyway. So, you know, it's a GDQ, so I can honestly say that's never happened to me before.
There's always got to be at least one moment like that. So checked.
Always. Okay, but I'm going to work my way over here. This is the last bit of upgrade material that I have not yet picked up to max out my weapon. There is a way to get that from the right, but actually we found out that it's graphics dependent. This game has a lot of weird quirks to it, and we are doing our best to limit the amount of graphics or FPS dependent tricks that we're using in this particular run. Okay, so we're almost done with this little fetch quest section here. I do need to return to Shidra. Shidra has one more item for me, and it is something called the Unsealer. It will allow me to enter the final areas of the run, which are sealed away behind a door. It's actually, this is where the lore of the game gets a little bit crazy. There is a city behind that door where this group of people that all look absolutely gorgeous have decided to build basically a grand city that they expect me to destroy. So they sort of worship us as you know, their eventual fate, and we are going to fulfill our destiny by heading over there, taking the city in, and then taking the city into the black hole by absorbing the entire thing. So yeah, this is kind of a strange bit of the run, and our good old friend from before, whose name was Jan, you may not recognize them, but I promise this is them. Jan doesn't want us to do that for maybe somewhat obvious reasons. If we go and destroy that city, then actually we'll be on track to destroy not just that, but the entire world. And Jan doesn't think that's such a great idea. So Jan is trying to convince us not to do it. And I promise you that this dialogue is very, very, you know, heart-melting and convincing, and I will mash through it in any language. But what Jan is saying here is basically every trick in the book. Jan tries to say, oh, you're my friend, don't do this, how could you do this? Then gets angry at us and says, oh, what are you doing? And eventually summons some enemies to come fight us. And this is a little mini arena that actually we're just going to skip by quitting out at the corner of the arena. So this is probably my favorite skip in the run. We call it yawn skip. If you just stand at the right edge of the arena and quit to menu, when you load back in, then you no longer have the wall in front of you and you can just leave. Yawn is still mad at us and actually hit us there, but we don't care. We're leaving. So we've done it. We're now beyond the barrier and we're on our way to destroy the city and also the world. I promise we're not the baddies or something. Here I'm going to be using, I didn't mean to do that, but that's okay. I'm going to be using a couple of little tricks here to get on top of some of these barriers. Normally you simply have to slash them to get through, but actually this was found like very, very recently. The video was posted in the Discord today, so this is me trying them out. Somehow it's actually pretty easy to do, so that saves a good chunk of time, and I'm glad I can show that literally the day it's posted. Shout outs to Lilo for finding that one and incorporating it into the new world record, actually. But yeah, this is a bit of platforming, and this is where we really get to show off the full gamut of abilities that we've picked up so far. We're using our grapple ability to pull ourselves to these lanterns that are hanging. We're using our air dash that we picked up from the vulture. We can also use pull and all sorts of things, obviously. I didn't talk about it much, but the pull ability is actually a way for us to slow our fall speed, and we do use it quite a bit. But yeah, that was the first bit of platforming, and it's really just a warm-up for what's to come after we get past the city. So this is the entrance to the city. It is an absolutely gorgeous city, and like I said, it's filled with absolutely gorgeous individuals. This is sort of the point of the city. The city is supposed to be gorgeous, and the reason it's supposed to be gorgeous is they want it to look as pretty as possible before we come and destroy it. The way that they phrase it is they want a city that's worthy of destruction, which is a little bit strange, and obviously we're in kind of a weird world. This entire world is formed with a black hole in it. We are that black hole, and we are that story. So like I said, a little bit of a weird lore to this game, but you know, it kind of makes sense if you believe hard enough. Okay, but this is a safety surrogate I'm going to grab here. We are about to fight one of the major bosses of the game, and oh, I didn't give myself the tongue break treat. That was silly. And this is probably my favorite boss in this game, and also, oh, I didn't, okay, sorry. I need to go and level up a little more. I thought I didn't have enough levels. This is probably one of my favorite bosses out of really like any game that I've run, at least. I have some favorites out of other games as well, but this one is very, very good. It is called The Final Performance, and the idea behind it is that this sort of leader of the city is trying to give one last performance to be the, really the pride of the city. So before we can destroy the city, we need to work our way through this one last performance. Oh, I grabbed the wrong one. That's okay. This has two different phases to it, and the second phase is broken up into a couple of different sections as well. But the first phase that we're dealing with is this one here. It is the elevator phase, and the main idea is we can only attack the final performance, or TFP as we call them, by either jumping with the momentum of this elevator as it goes up, or pulling ourselves to these lanterns. Oops, oh, that was silly. But we can attack in both of those ways, and after 3 iterations, TFP comes down to our level. Now we have the main phase where TFP is going to do their best to fight us. There are 2 types of attacks here. There are red attacks, which we cannot dodge, which we cannot parry. That was very rude. Oh, that's okay. Let me just do this. Anyway, there are red attacks which we cannot parry, and the regular light attacks which we can. And I just need to be careful not to take too much damage here. This is the phase where TFP stops attacking us and starts sending this ballerina after us instead. We refer to this as the ballerina phase for obvious reasons. And TFP will cycle between this and the primary phase where they attack us. Okay. A little bit rough, but that was okay. Basically, as long as their health goes. Ideally, we'd like to kill TFP before we get to the first ballerina phase, but we didn't quite get that much damage in simply because of those hits I took, but that is okay. But yeah, TFP, one of my favorite fights. Casually, it's a very, very fun fight. I think it's just a very well-constructed fight, and it guards this destruction of this city. So that's what this final cutscene is. We've sucked in the entire city and destroyed it. And you might be wondering, well, we fought the final performance and we've destroyed the city, so we're done, right? Not quite, because like I said, our goal isn't just to destroy the city. It's actually to destroy the entire world. Like I said, we're the good guys, right? So we just picked up one more ability, and that is double jump. This is the final ability that we're going to get in this run. There are a couple of optional abilities that we did not pick up in this run, but these are all the main abilities that, as far as we know, are required to beat the game. So double jump really adds to the platforming experience in this game, in my opinion. I think pretty much anybody that's played any platformer that has a double jump knows that the game can be night and day between when you have it and when you don't, and this game is no exception. Double jump is very, very nice, and luckily the game actually gives us a nice big platforming section to get full use out of it almost immediately. So it's pretty interesting. This is an area known as the Pale Sky, and it is an area filled with spikes and lanterns to pull ourselves to, and obstacles to double jump over, disappearing platforms. It's got everything. It's a pretty great area. I like it a lot. As an enjoyer of the movement in this speedrun, I think the only real chances that we get to show off the platforming is right here in the Pale Sky. So I'm glad that we're able to do it. But yeah, we're basically just going to be working our way through here. It's a couple of minutes long of avoiding these spikes, doing our best. The game is actually pretty kind in this section, so even if I were to take a hit, this is an area that has an auto regen feature. If I take a hit at all, I just immediately get healed. So there's not really anything to worry about here in terms of dying or, struggling casually. They know that this will be a hard area for some players, so they give you what you need basically to be able to get through here without incident. And I think that's nice. It's also convenient for the speedrun, but obviously taking a hit to the spikes is slow, so we do our best not to. But yeah, there's not really any major skips in this area. There are a couple of minor places where I'll skip a platform or two, or just fall for longer than normal. But really, we're just going through it, dev intended, and trying not to get hit. If we were doing the glitched run, there are a couple of places where you can get out of bounds, and it is very funny, but it actually doesn't even save all that much time. So this area is just a pure platforming challenge, and I like it for that.
I had a question for you, Mathulu. You had mentioned earlier in the run that you need to kill these certain enemies in order to unlock areas of the game. Does that come into play with the speedrun? If you don't defeat them, you can't actually finish the run?
Yeah, so there are bosses that will gate specific things, but or specific areas, and you actually you just can't get past them or can't get past those areas until you kill those bosses. One example is the vulture that gave us the air dash. We actually had this problem where we wanted to be able to skip the air dash. Obviously, it would make some of this kind of hard, but we were trying to lab it. But actually, you can't get into the palace area at all until you've killed the vulture. And that's just one example. The mothers are the same way. As far as regular enemies go, you can get past, or like you can avoid killing any regular enemies, but all the bosses, as far as we're aware, beyond just the ones that gate the abilities, there are also ones that we have to kill literally just for access.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks for clarifying.
Yeah. It's honestly kind of funny because we have tried to find ways around some of these gates, but it becomes extra hard because without the movement ability either, then the combination just starts to get a little bit rough. Okay, but yeah, this is the final surrogate I'm going to take, and it is right before this final confrontation here. So we've gone past the city, we listened to Shidra's fetch quest to be able to get in there, we've destroyed the city, and now we've come back here and we are attempting to destroy the entire world, actually. But we've actually just walked into a bit of a trap. This was set here by the looming figure in the background that you may recognize by now if you have been paying attention as none other than Shidra of the World Pillar. Shidra has been sending us on a fetch quest not to actually get us access into the city, but to build a device that is going to contain us and kill us. So Shidra had us pick up that item there and the Strand of the Child, which they are currently inserting it into. And with this, they are able to create this device that is supposed to basically make us weak and make us unable to destroy the world. However, it doesn't quite work. There are two options here. This is actually where the game gives you the choice, and this is why we call this run kinship percent and not any percent. I could actually just sit here and let that device kill me, and that is an ending of the game. But, you know, we're going for the good ending where the whole world is destroyed. So instead, I fight back, and I am going to actually kill Shidra, at least attempt to. So this is the final boss of the run. It's a little bit tricky of a fight, and it's definitely one that was hard to learn casually and also for the speedrun. But luckily we have enough damage here to where it shouldn't be too bad. Of course, now that I've said that, I've managed to curse myself, but hopefully it'll be okay. Shidra has a lot of attacks that will deal a ton of damage. That is one of them. So if you get caught in the center of this attack where Shidra just basically slams down a giant block, okay, that was a bit strange, but that's okay. It deals almost your entire health bar, so it can be a little bit tricky. Luckily, I've got 4 heals in the inventory here, so if I need to, I can feel free to use those, and it shouldn't be too bad. But yeah, Shidra has a couple of different phases, and they are basically the same phase twice. Let me move. Okay, that was strange, but it was okay. So Shidra has a healing phase here in the middle of the fight where they summon 2 of these enemies here that I'm currently fighting and spend the time that I'm distracted to heal. So we just want to get through that as quickly as we can and get back to the main fight. Like with any other boss, we can parry any attack that isn't red, so that's one of them. That is not, and I'm glad I had enough stamina to dodge, because that is another attack that can actually one-shot you if you don't have any health upgrades. Yeah, Shidra is a pretty difficult fight, I would say, to learn initially, but once you know the fight, it's actually not that bad. Shidra's tells are pretty obvious, and the main way that I die in this fight is by greeting a little bit too hard. So, you know, just don't do that. Easy, right? Nobody's ever tried to greet a hit in a speedrun. Alright, we're near the end of the fight here. This fight has it doesn't quite end here. So Shidra's health bar is done, but we have to finish out the attack. But there's actually one more segment to this fight. So Here we have to actually basically chase Shidra up. So Shidra is sort of running away, going up to the top of this world. And this is a bit of a chase segment. So there's lava or some general death-causing liquid below us that we want to avoid, and we want to climb up here as quickly as we can to where we are going to meet Shidra for a final confrontation. This is a part I really, really enjoy about the game. This is the final boss, and it calls back to the first boss of the game. So if you remember the very first boss, the idea was we had to absorb some of the attacks that were the non-red attacks, and we had to ignore the red attacks or dodge through them. That's exactly what happens here. There are 4 arms. The only way that you can damage Shidra is by absorbing the one that isn't red. So it goes back to what it taught you on the very first boss. If you've been ignoring it the whole time and dealing your damage entirely with your weapon, this is a place where that will fail, and you need to actually go back to the fundamentals of absorbing. It's a bit of a victory lap, but it is possible to die there, and if you do, you have to redo the entire fight. So glad that we didn't there. But yeah, that was the final boss, and we have one more segment here of final platforming to go before we'll be done. About a minute and a half or so of platforming as a bit of a celebration for having defeated Shidra. But we're climbing up the peak of creation, and I will be able to show finally some of these Bellow Mace skips that I had alluded to when we picked up the weapon at the beginning of the run. So what this weapon does is it allows us to gain a little bit of extra height by using the attack, the air attack, and then trying to interrupt it in some way. In this case, we're going to interrupt it by dashing, but it will allow us to do things like this and skip some segments of the area. Some of these are very tight, so I might miss them, and if I do, it's fine. I'll probably just keep trying them. But you know, it's the principle of the thing. This is another example. Just get a little bit of extra height. Personally, I really like these skips. They were one of the only skips that I found when I was doing this game casually, and they are dear to my heart because of that. They're a lot of fun. Oh, I literally only had 5 stamina to do that last dash. That was wonderful. 5 is the minimum amount you need where you can dash. Okay, but yeah, this is the very end, and in my opinion, this is absolutely gorgeous. We can see in the background, there's all sorts of other black holes from other bodies here, and we are going to basically become one of them. We're going to fulfill our destiny here. This ending is called Kinship, and that is sort of the idea behind it. What we're watching here is us destroying the world, but that is time.
Wow. Oh my gosh. That was so impressive, Mathulu, and what a gorgeous game. Am I right, friends? Wow.
Yeah, I really love the visuals of this game, especially areas like that and the climb up the peak of creation. I think it's gorgeous.
Oh yeah, that was such a treat. Thank you so much for being here, Mathulu, to run Grime for us. Do you have any shout outs or comments you'd like to give before we switch over?
Yeah, just a couple. I think that this is a great game. If this was new to you, definitely check it out. This game is a pretty fun one, both as a casual game. If you want to go for 100%, there's a new DLC coming out with New Game Plus mode. But also as a speed game, if you join the Discord, we've got beginner routes and beginner notes and maps that are annotated. Shout outs to Mika for creating those. But you know, we just have a bunch of resources, a great community. It's a good place to spend some time speedrunning.
Nice. Well, thank you again so much, Mathulu. You've been an absolutely fantastic guest. I loved the run. And I will say to you, those of you watching, if you did enjoy the run, make sure you follow Mathulu here on Twitch. Shout out was given in the chat, so don't sleep on it. Click the follow button. But we are about to head to a break. Before we do, I just want to give a big shout out to all of our amazing supporters. Your subs, Prime Gaming subs, gift subs, and bits cheered here on the Games Done Quick Twitch channel do help support the GDQ Hot hotfix, including this show, so please consider subscribing if you do enjoy your daily dose of GDQ. And if you'd like to be featured as a guest here on Time Capsule, you can always use the command !Time Capsule here in the Twitch chat to access the submission form, or you can always give me a ring, twitch.tv/smoothoperative. I'd be happy to talk it over with you. And in semi-breaking news, some of you know, the schedule for SGDQ 2023 is now out. You can use the command !SGDQ here in Twitch chat, or go to gamesdonequick.com/schedule and check it out there. We will be right back with Psychonauts 2, so stay tuned. All right, everybody, welcome back to the GDQ Hotfix. I'm your host, Smooth Operative, and you are watching Time Capsule. We've got the crew ready for Psychonauts 2, so please welcome It's Bites and Peakman Fan 2002. Bites, would you like to kick us off?
Hey, everybody. I'm Bites, and I'm joined by Peakman Fan.
Hello.
Hello.
And we're here to showcase Psychonauts 2. It's a great game. I very much enjoyed running it. I'm very glad to show it off here on the show.
Thank you so much for being with us.
I think I'm ready to start this new game. We're going to be talking about what's going on and all that. So
Yeah, sure.
we'll
Whenever
start
you feel
on
ready.
when we pick a new game. So we'll start in 3, 2, 1, go.
All right, good luck.
Thank you.
Alright. So this is if you don't know, Psychonauts 2 is a 3D platformer where all the levels take place in people's heads. It's very story focused and whatnot. And the end of the first game ends with the head of the Psychonauts organization being kidnapped by that guy back there, Lobato. But he absolutely could not have kidnapped the head alone. So we're in his mind setting up an office construct and giving him the Employee of the Year award. But he can only get the vacation if he gets it signed by his boss. So that's what this level is. We need to follow Lobato to figure out who he's working for.
So this level is pretty much just a tutorial giving us all our abilities and such. Here I'm going to be exiting out and coming back to skip a couple lines of dialogue, giving me the punch ability. Usually in normal runs we would have this in-game time, but it saves time. Trust me.
It saves time with downloads. The other thing to note is Lobato's a dentist, so as the level goes on, there's going to be a lot of teeth stuff as he starts breaking through this construct. Also, going on with the chairs and pots here, walking down the chair makes you move slightly faster, and the pots just have a chance of flinging Raz forward every time you jump on one.
Yeah. And here we're just going to skip a couple wall jumps there. So just slamming against the poster somehow just boosts us up to that ledge. So we're just going to progress on and get our next ability here from Coach Oleander.
And at the edge here, we'll be able to get the first major movement tech. If we cancel a roll with an attack and then instantly cancel that attack, we just cancel all the end lag from rolling.
Very silly. That's like a day one trick. A lot of like casual streamers have found, as well as like the speedrun community. So does a lot for the run for this beginning, especially. But everything goes so fast already, so we're just getting into the next combat section. So the fastest way of doing combat against these sensors is stunning them with any item around using our telekinesis ability that we just got from Oleander.
2 thrown objects plus a full melee combo kills them.
Yep. And we're getting more
at the end of this hallway is the most important ability we get in the whole freaking run.
So this actually pretty much broke this game entirely for each ability that we're going to be doing for the rest of the speedrun. Oh, I missed the tooth.
You can cancel, if you dodge and jump, you usually lose all your momentum, but using a side blast and then dodge jumping, you preserve the momentum and can just make absolutely insane gaps while also just moving really fast.
The same can be done with telekinesis as well, but it's most effective with Side Blast. Because we're not going to get that many objects to throw. Yeah, this run is insanely dominated by Side Blasts, and what we're going to be using soon as well. Because this tutorial pretty much uses every single movement tech we have in this run. So you're going to see a lot of everything going on in this beginning. And then it'll slow down after we're done. So.
Yeah. This area we get pyrokinesis, which is only useful in the specific parts that we need to use it, but it's also really good for a lot of combat. Doubts, those enemies right there, are vulnerable to fire and can basically be one shot with them.
I'm just getting these camera angles to manipulate these spawns. Oh, that one was not manipulated at all. Not supposed to spawn back there, but it's fine.
Fun bit of tech with that regret. You saw that picking up the weight straight from the regret took a lot of time, and you can't really do anything. If you shoot the regret, you can grab the weight before it hits the ground, and you don't have to waste any time picking it up.
And here's the biggest piece of movement tech in this game, where we just get to fly.
Good old prop fly.
Oh, just a little callback of the first game where we were pretty much able to fly with spamming the levitation. Yeah, they patched that by giving us like 3 pops on this bubble, and now we just get to find a pop and fly.
If you hold Side Blast, you can't walk off of ledges. So if you get on an object, hold Side Blast and attempt to walk off it. When you pick it up, it always constantly moves the object to the top right of Raz, which, as you see here, just winds up letting you fly.
Yeah. Just skipping pretty much all of that combat down there, but we're going to be using prop flying a little bit more methodically for most levels, because you can't always skip them straight up like that. Oh. Yeah, now we're just getting the slower pace of the run now. So a lot going on in Lobato's mind, I'll tell you.
We didn't even get a touch on levitation yet, which is another one of the most critical abilities in this game. Levitation is just the ball Raz rides around on, and it also lets him float in the air. Most nobly, this ball will have more use later on. Usually in the second level is when we unlock something for it. But also, we can hold Side Blast in the air and then float. In the float, instead of halting our momentum, because Side Blast is being charged, preserves the momentum the entire way through. So you can just kind of triple or double or triple the gaps Raz can cross just by holding Side Blast.
We're just pretty much meeting all these new characters and revisiting ones, getting more plot. We're skipping all the cutscenes, so we don't really get much of the plot.
The quick rundown for context is Raz is now an intern at the Psychonauts and needs to get assigned his mentor, Nick John Smith, in the mailroom. So we gotta go to the mailroom. The problem is, once we get there, right in this room, as it turns out, Nick John Smith is just missing completely. No one's around to sort the mail. Unfortunately, Raz is the last person you want sorting your mail. To progress this part, you just need to put 11 pieces of mail in. It doesn't matter if it's right or not, just chuck it in.
Shove it in there, it'll be fine.
Yeah, I can
You
just
can Side Blast it.
Yeah. Throw them in. That's probably going somewhere not that important. They'll find it.
Yeah. Ooh, a big box. This one's going to the leader of the Psychonauts, who's kind of unconscious in a bed somewhere. But this box also has the unconscious, brainless body of Nick John Smith inside it, with keys to a casino. But Hollis, this teacher up here, is very keen on getting us to an intern class, thus starting the second level.
Still a lot. A lot going on while moving this fast.
I would highly recommend playing this game. It's very fun. There's so much just a story and that we'll never even begin to touch on.
Can I ask if it's like pretty crucial to play the first one before going into the second one, or is it easy to jump in for new players?
It's very easy to jump in. There's a catch-up comic for at the very beginning of. It's like a little video that just explains the plot. The only thing that's really of note is some of the characters, especially Ford Cruller from the first game, plays a very big role in this one.
Yeah.
That's it for the most part.
Okay, that's still pretty cool that they decided to include something like that at the beginning. I like that.
This part here is a nice little auto-scroller section. We just
You just show off more of the fast roll.
yeah.
Just waiting for each
There's-
dialogue.
We can't use our side abilities in this area, and especially considering one of the last levels we do has a lot of 2D parts, we'll be needing to use just the dodge rolling a lot.
The patient will make a full recovery, Dr. Potts. All thanks to you. And your brilliant intern, Hollis Forsyth.
Have you played this game casually, Smooth? Or
No, I haven't at all. I guess I've always thought that Psychonauts in general looked pretty interesting. So when I was, searching around for runs, I happened upon Psychonauts 2, and so that's how Bites and Pikmin fan became here today. So thanks again. But no, I'm interested in the game. Is the run very difficult to learn, would you say, or?
I wouldn't say it's difficult, especially now when we have prop flying. Prop flying makes the run like incredibly easy to get into.
Oh, okay.
And we also have a new category. Yeah, we also have a new category where we don't use prop flying, which is basically the old any percent.
That one can be a lot more technical because you have to use your levitation ball a lot more, fast floating, and even frame perfect tricks that we find workarounds to do consistently, but prop flying removes the need to do a lot of those.
So then what's something like the time difference between the two runs, would you say?
I want to say
What if I let them go and the worst happens?
probably less than 5-minute difference.
Oh, okay, so it's not too bad.
Fathomable fear
Yeah.
at a time, Forsyth.
It's just a lot more technical to match a run that uses prop flying without.
Right. I bet.
It would open her up to
So
so
I
many
think
more missions.
my run before prop flying
Life
was like a
experiences.
3-minute difference. So with that, it doesn't really do much, but it just helps skip levels a little consistently.
It's all about getting from point A to point B, and it's just a fast and easy way to do so.
Right, but you preferred this any percent.
Yes.
Right.
So, what just happened there is we might have accidentally given Hollis a bit of a gambling addiction. Yeah, there's a lot that happens when you kind of ignore the cutscenes. We couldn't skip that one because it's actually important to that puzzle. And so we can't have players skipping puzzle important cutscenes, so. Alright. This is a fling. Mental connection is a really funny ability. And if you cancel it right as you reach one of those nodes you can connect to, you just go flying.
Fuck both of them. That's
Nice.
Yeah, these are bad
some-
ideas that give us these bombs that just spit out. And the great thing is they do lots of damage against other enemies. So with these heavy sensors, it does about half of their HP, or at least 3/4 of it.
Good thing we're near a
Similar to what I said earlier with the regrets and their weights, how it's faster to kill the regret and grab their weight before it hits the ground, you can catch the bad ideas bombs mid-air to just instantly grab them. Otherwise, if they hit the ground, you have to wait and pull them out, which can take a while.
Dr. Potts.
Yeah, learning the combat phases is probably something that'll be a little more difficult, because it's very strict as to where you would spawn the enemies. Otherwise, if they're in the wrong spot, it'll be a little bit of a detour each time. And also, effectively defeating each of the enemies is very hard, especially with like using each other's against, or using each of their abilities against them. So,
Is there a lot of
ideas.
RNG on the during the run?
No, not that much.
There's one level, which is the infamous RNG based level that can waste like a few seconds, like maybe half a minute with bad RNG.
Okay, so it could definitely
But-
be
I got
worse.
a little more spring
Yeah.
levitation.
Outside of that one level and this specific enemy type, which we're still not positive how it truly works, there's everything's consistent, which is really nice. Shout out to this trick. If you hold side blast while rolling around on a big ball, you move a lot faster. We call it speed balling. There will be a level entirely dedicated to that trick later, and it's a real fun one.
You know, sounds
And
like
then we
you
gotta
got
connect all these ideas together to progress through this pachinko machine. It's broken.
Actually, I think it's
No heart,
We
or at
accidentally,
least a heart is broken.
we accidentally gave Hollis a gambling addiction, and so we're back in her mind with her years as a her experience as at the hospital with the gambling addiction. Got into it.
And we're just gonna fly
Can you do
across
that?
the room with a fling.
Yeah.
It's incredible that actually mental connection has been patched a few times. I don't know if it was on purpose, but they patched being able to jump out of these mental thoughts.
When the game first came out, you could fling using the mental connection nodes, and when you were in one, you could jump out of it. And they patched both of those things out, and then they patched both of those things back in.
So now it just makes flings a lot easier to do now for some reason. Because before we just couldn't figure it out.
Now they're actually viable and surprisingly easy. It's just a matter of some timing.
It's a very
So this
large
is-
timing window to get these flings. So
This is easily the longest platforming section in the game, but just bring a wheelchair from the hospital and bam. It didn't make the cycle.
it's all good. Yeah, that small bit is cycle based.
I have $2 gazillion.
We're doing all these levels because we can't get to Hollis in the High Rollers Lounge unless we get $3 gazillion. So,
How close are we
yeah. 2 gazillion.
now? Okay.
Getting
We
there.
need to. Now we're in card eology, and we need to bet on the hearts to win
That's weird. Most
because they're doing so poorly. Their odds are just a gazillion to 1. But we can see here, hearts might not be in the best state, so we gotta help them change their mind. And what better way to do that than just jumping all the way here to the thoughts? That skips like a solid 20 30 seconds of platforming.
You gotta connect help with winning. You need help to win. Oops. Okay.
You never learn.
I almost thought I picked the wrong one. Almost autopiloted to picking the first dialogue there. I don't know why. Here we got another 2D scroller. We're just racing all the other faces.
We can't even dodge in this one though, so our speed is kind of capped until we get to the slopes. There they are. They're the kind of thing that builds up a lot of speed and you can just preserve it. And with that, we're ready to fight the first boss.
Now this boss is interesting because we don't directly fight it. We just
You
gotta
chuck bombs into the suckers, and instead of doing that manually, let's have her do it herself.
Because
There we go,
the main
thanks.
idea of this boss is to let her throw these bombs at us, and then we pick it up from the floor and then throw it into the tentacles. But in this case, we can just bounce
Position res in
right
between
behind
her
the-
mouth and the tentacle.
right behind the tentacle
Position
and just
triangle between them.
shoot herself.
don't see any hole.
Just
Need to break it open.
That's
It's
a
so
waste.
close.
Get away from there, my plastic.
Please. Okay.
Alright, all's good.
This will work.
Looking for that
I swear.
ugly hole. I had that removed.
Also, for some reason, most of her attacks are based off of her voice lines. And if we shoot her, it skips the voice lines. This was found actually really recently and saves probably 12 seconds.
Okay.
So there, just shot her, she finished her dialogue, and she's picking her card. So
Tentacle here goes from the right side to left to right, just on a cycle, so we can't just hang out back there the whole time for this final phase.
in this one, we just have to wait for her to actually pick all the cards.
You can't tilt this machine, Sonny.
Can't skip attacks, but we can just skip the dialogues.
We'll be able to skip attacks on future bosses.
Yeah.
And with this, one last bomb. Yeah, you can see at this metal connection node, we jump out of it. There were patches where we couldn't do that. So it was a lot harder to just simply jump up the stack of chips. But with that, we fix the mess Raz has created, and now we can go on the casino mission.
There doesn't seem to be any
Nicely done.
Guess I'll just have to make one.
Alright, we'll use everything Gisu taught us about rail grinding. This is just a really different way of looking at rail.
Yep, this is definitely a rail. I want this ability.
And if we land in that little indent right there, we activate the cutscene that takes us to the end of this area.
Oh no.
Nice and easy.
So we didn't get a rail, but we did get a whale. So I think that's close enough.
Why would Nick John speak? What's
And
that
then
gotta be
this hidden compartment behind this painting. And there's Lily.
Reveals some very dangerous plot stuff. There is a mole in the Psychonauts who's trying to revive a super powerful psychic, Maligula, back from the dead. And it seems like they're trying to hire Lily, who is Raz's girlfriend, to help them with this. So we've got to go see Lily and just make sure everything's all right. Oh,
But first, we gotta go to the brain revisitor.
Brain Tumbler. It's where you revisit levels. Thank you, Sasha. Let's leave instantly and never come back.
An interesting thing is that we both run 100%, so we actually stay there and revisit into Hollis's mind to get the collectibles. This is a very large collectible game.
There's over 1,000 figments.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things where you can miss one, and now you could lose several minutes trying to figure out which one you missed.
It's a very fun run.
Actually is, once you remember where everything is. Anyways, up here, we learn that Truman, when he's alone with Raz, is actually not as bad as he seems, because everyone thinks he's sick. And he tasks Raz, because he knows Maligula is going to return, only one person has been able to stop her, Ford Kroller from the first game. Ford loves bacon. We went to go grab some bacon. Now we're in Ford's mind.
campfire and whisper?
We upgrade pyrokinesis there because it makes the radius bigger, meaning that it can charge up into a ball faster and its recharge is shorter.
That one did not want to light for some reason. But here's Auto Mentalis.
Auto Mentalis.
This is another level where these cutscenes are unskippable because they're trying to show us something important in the
Poor
plot.
Helmet Full Bear.
Poor Helmet Full Bear.
Guess I'll never get to see Lucretia
Yeah.
Lux.
Another unskippable.
Wonder why
I don't think
she's
it's
not
even
included in
necessarily the
Section 6.
plot. I think it's just at the very end of this cutscene, it shows a tree opening up, which is where you're supposed to go to. So if you skip this cutscene, who knows you're supposed to go to the tree.
True. It's right there.
I mean, this is a really small room, but...
Just gotta make sure. Don't miss it.
There's a note to Ford in it. Looks like it's from Otto Mental's.
This is a really funny bit of dialogue Raz says, because we don't even do any specific speedrun tech here. If you just go forward, you can leave this area before Raz gets to finish.
Just killed in the war. I know you have concerns.
Not really much to look at as well. There's just the moon.
It's very pretty though.
Yeah.
Nice reflections. And Psychonauts is also the kind of game where you get to see a cutscene like this for 1 second and we don't get to explain it.
No context. He's just in Ford's body.
So Ford has a bit of a thing where he is multiple his mind is shattered, and so he has multiple different personas combined with the ability to teleport. There's Ford. He's in multiple places. He's a barber, he's cleaning shoes at the bowling alley, and he's in the mailroom. In order to get to the bowling alley Ford, we need to get a senior leagues pass, and in order to get to the mailroom Ford, we need to get a brain for Nick's brainless body.
Now we gotta tell Truman about it. I think he'll like that idea.
Yeah. And so with this, we are able to finally go outside where we have some visitors waiting for us. Because believe it or not, Raz's family from the circus is here. Hollis doesn't really like their presence just chilling around, so she forces them to go to the campsite. There he is. That's his dad. So now that we're out in the quarry, we grab the stool and we start heading over to Psycho-Isolation, where Compton Bull is. We know Compton has a senior leagues pass, which, as I said before, we need to get to Bowlingford. So let's go say hi.
We just had to park our vehicle outside because we're going to be prop flying right after this interaction here. We're just begging him for this membership card.
He will only give it to us if we bring him a single bee.
That's Raz's sister.
Now, off we go.
Okay, well, it did not.
That's a shame. Oh
Did
man,
not
now we
wanna
have to
go all the way.
platform.
Alright, now you get to see what we're intended to do here.
Careful, it gets pretty advanced up here. Not
There you go.
for little kids.
There's a lot of ways you can get to this spot. There's like 5 different methods off the top of my head, and they're all varying levels of speed and difficulty. But here we are at the questionable area.
With a question mark, because they're also questioning it.
Yeah, and right now we just gotta beeline it to grab some bees.
Alright. I didn't actually think you could do that.
Your family's not over
great.
there.
It's faster to do this than those rails. What this is earlier in the run, we got enough abilities to upgrade levitation to Pouncy Ball. And while that's supposed to be a normal charge up a ball, jump high kind of thing, if you use it in mid-air, it preserves Raz's momentum. So in wide open areas like this, you can just keep chaining them together, get wherever you want.
I came here to see my family.
You also can't leave this area unless you go see his family. So the fast travel just automatically warps you here.
Dogen says hi.
Good line. Alright. If we aim for this target up there, that completes a side quest that gives us a dive ability. But if we also enter the fast travel right as we do it, we don't need to worry about any cutscenes or whatnot. We just get dive and can keep playing the game.
And dive is a good ability just to get some initial speed for fast floats or anything like that.
Alright, so we might have accidentally grabbed 3 bees, and that's kind of overwhelming Compton, who can speak to animals. So his level is next, and this is the RNG-based level I was talking about earlier.
Okay, here we go.
This is the judge enemy, has a lot of health. You can just kind of stun lock it with pyrokinesis.
The RNG doesn't start here
Levels.
though, but you know,
Yeah.
you get to be patient, like actual chefs.
Yeah, this is half RNG, half waiting. We throw the egg in the pot, and we can't do anything until the egg's done cooking, which you can see in the timer at the top.
I'm just gonna collect some things while we wait. So why not? Got that ingredient in. So these are the figments of the game. You collect
100 of them
100.
give you a rank up.
Yeah. You get to rank up, you
There
can upgrade
are
abilities.
a lot of them. In this level in specific, as you do more recipes, more figments spawn in the area. So there's always more to collect.
Some cheese.
And more to miss.
Pizza.
An egg.
Pork. Spatula. Yeah. Lots of things. Very easy to miss, of course, because of how small and thin they are. They blend in with some objects in other levels.
There are some figments in this game that are just truly infamous due to, well, how many people just completely miss them for very obvious reasons. There's a banana figment hiding in the top of a random tree in a layer level. No one likes the banana figment.
Yeah. In between each recipe, we get a combat phase.
Commercial break.
Oh, commercial breaks. They're promoting Tin Can Crunch.
And judges have so much health, it's faster to actually just push them off the cliff.
Exit stage left, please.
That trick is a lot harder than it seems. Good job of getting like that without
I
messing
haven't
up.
been getting that in practice in a while, so I'm really happy I got it.
Usually what happens is you hit the judge twice and then the wrecking ball part of the levitation ball deactivates because you lose too much speed. And so you just have to back away and regain it. The fact that it's blue around the ball means wrecking ball is active, but when it's green, that means it's not.
Now we're using more of the things around here. I thought I knocked over the bread somehow. Where did I knock off? I did not even see that. Oh, it was the camera. Okay. That was interesting.
Here's a really fun fact about this level. Double Fine has a documentary series they've been working on for this entire game's development. And one of the people responsible for making this documentary, for one of the company-wide game jams they often do, decided to pitch a game that was a 3D platformer about cooking a meal to appease the gods so they don't kill everyone. They liked the idea so much, they hired him to join the studio as a level designer, and we have this level.
That's awesome.
Also, that documentary is about 22 hours long to watch, so very much recommend to watch that whole process.
So set aside
But
sufficient
obviously
time.
not once.
Yeah.
Just it's a very easy kind of thing to just chip away at.
I think it's about 32 episodes, right?
That sounds right. Alright, so here we have another judge that we just do the same quick kill.
Oh, two in a
Nice.
row.
I've never even been able to do the 3 hit once. And this is the first bit of RNG. For one thing, there's only one beehive. Do not miss that. That loses a lot of time.
That's not an egg.
And we need to cook that egg. If that egg cooks before we get to it again, it's completely RNG.
So right now it's not even cooking at all, so I'm very concerned on which stovetop it started in. It was the second
The
one.
reason it does or does not cook is because there are 5 stoves and one of them just starts cooking, and then another stove either 1 or 2 away from the one that's cooking it gets lit on fire. So you have to have good RNG to like throw the egg on, and it's on the stove that gets cooking, and then it moves away like 1 tile and moves back to the egg.
Oh, now
If that
it's
doesn't work, then you have to just finish cooking it manually.
Yep.
I was worried I was not going to make it for a second.
I got it. Don't worry.
Yeah. my 100% time I have, I lose an ingredient, and that costs me like 2 minutes alone because I had to recook it.
And we're getting even more ingredients done. I'm gonna grab this extra health here. Just for safety. Because I do not want three brains of health. Our health is mental health.
Mental energy.
Oh. Ow.
Honestly, the bad egg RNG didn't seem like even mattered right here because we made it to the watermelon, which is the longest thing that takes to be cooked.
Alright, here's
in this case, blended.
Alright, quick warning. This is a boss fight of a lot of vomit. So I'll try to not look too much at it. But also look away.
So what happens is that 5 projectile attack will have 3 of those projectiles are the correct ingredient we need. And so we just have to get lucky in grabbing one of the right ingredients, throwing it in, and then we can skip the boss's attacks just by jumping off a cliff when they start. Do not ask how I discovered that. It was not my finest moment.
Oh, I somehow
that was the worst luck for phase 1.
Picked the only 2 that weren't the correct ones. That's okay though.
Alright, so after this 3rd ingredient for the first phase, we get a bit of a combat section. It's a very simple one though, because it's just sensors, doubts, and regrets. You can use the regrets weights to one-shot the doubts, so...
I can find it. Where are they? They're hiding.
They'll spawn in. There they are.
Oh, there was a weight.
Oh, that sucks.
That's okay. They go away very fast with pyrokinesis anyway.
And with that, we're a third of the way done with the fight.
And now we just kind of repeat the entire process, getting these 3 ingredients. Now we have less correct ones.
Only 2 of these are right, which just increases the odds of bad RNG.
And I think all 3 that weren't it. Okay.
Wow. Another thing that can happen in the ingredients is if you pick them up in a weird way, you will grab them and they will be below the pot or plate you're on. And yeah, that can waste some time.
A little bit.
Before, when people didn't know how to save it, because now we know you can just jump off the side and jump back on to retrieve that missing ingredient. You just drop it. If you're on the last phase where there's only 1 correct ingredient, then you have to do an entire other cycle of the fight, which that alone is probably a half a minute of time loss.
Yeah. That's not an egg. That's also not an egg. Please. Okay. Another combat phase.
Hey, at least it was better than worst possible luck.
True.
Alright, this is very similar to the other combat arena, except replace doubts with sensors.
That one was a lot better than the last.
And we are now at the final phase of the fight.
Now Hollis is going to turn into a spatula. They're both sharks. I love the design of the blender. It's a very cute shark.
One of those disgusting mooks might hold the key to our victory.
Alright, so one of... Yay, good RNG.
Where are all the watermelons?
Only 1 ingredient there is correct. So
before, it
lucky.
could have been 0 incorrect ingredients.
Oh, yeah. That was painful.
Now it's guaranteed to be 1.
Please tell me this batch has the ingredient we need.
Watermelon?
Why are you playing with that? I don't want that.
I guess it's this one. No! Okay. I was wrong
Alright,
And
4
all-
out of 5. Let's go.
All guesses. Yeah, there's no way to actually manipulate the spawn. You can kind of see they were under the plate there. But there's no indicator if it's the right one. And
Just good old pure RNG.
it's gonna have to get lucky with it. And it's the
Nice.
last one. So we're gonna have the last two.
And for
enemies
the
here.
last phase, it's a judge and a heavy sensor, which, as we did before, we just push them off with. Get off, get off. Alright, alright.
Wanted to give us one last stare.
You did this.
And now the vomit is away.
Compton's level is done. So with this, he gives us the Senior Leagues Pass, which allows us to get to Bowlingford. And now we need to go grab a brain from Nick's body.
I almost went back to the atrium.
For some reason, Otto just has a big bowl of brains. It's actually really cool because a lot of the people who helped back this game, this is where their brains are. So there's just a whole place where you can look at just brains of people that funded this game, which is cool.
It's not safe. Also,
But that's not the brain we're interested in on them.
You want
Instead,
to
we're
don't
looking
Harry.
at this one, which is a tiny speck of consciousness that has not had a single sense for 20 years. But before that, we got 2 forward levels to do. This next thing is probably the shortest level in the entire run.
Oh, you look just like my nephew.
Normally, there's a lot of stuff we have to do in this game because it's very touchy on what we can and can't skip. This level barely has anything we can't skip. So we upgrade telekinesis, so thrown objects go further. Grab this cash register. And now we are able to just go straight to the end of the level.
Yep. Prop flying. We love it. There we go.
Alright, 90% level done.
We got one more thing to do here. I'm gonna grab a barrel. Put it down here.
Now we prop fly.
We fly to the top. Unfortunately, we can't
Visible
actually
wall around the way.
get on the pad. Oh, no! Okay, we're good. That was almost bad. Can't get on the patio. There's a invisible box surrounding all around it, so
You can get on the ladder at any point below it, though, so...
yeah.
The point of each forward level is at the end, there is a mirror shard stuck in the brain. And so we need to go and pull those out. We got one of them, and now we gotta go to the Bowlingford to pull out the second one. And this level is where speedballing comes back in. And it's absolutely insane. Just a reminder, all you have to do is hold Psy Blast while rolling around on a big object, and you move significantly faster than you do without it. The first thing we need to do is activate a cutscene, because it's one of those things where if we don't activate this cutscene, the mirror shard and Ford's brain at the end won't actually appear. So we're gonna jump off a cliff up here.
Try not to to fall off anything here.
Alright, now that we've done that, let's... I hope we get this next trick, because this next one is really hard to do. We need to jump onto that vent from this path.
There we go.
Alright, floaty ball.
Yeah, for some reason, getting into that cutscene while riding the bowling ball in that specific spot gives us this low gravity. I don't know
And
how it truly works, but you know, we'll take it if we can skip the level. that.
there's also, for some reason, a trigger to get to the forward brain area behind the bowling pin. So, like, we can just go there and boom, level done.
I need to hurry up.
It's a very fun part of the run.
Nick,
Oh, I was like, why isn't the
Anyways,
cutscene starting?
Those of you who have played this game probably remember this level. That brain in the jar we got, putting it in the body kind of overstimulates it, and it's having a bit of a panic attack. And luckily, as well, we could quick kill panic attacks, I guess.
It's a quiet place.
Yeah, that part is scripted, where we were supposed to lose, because we're not supposed to figure out how to fight those yet. They're very fast.
And we get a slowdown ability here. All the senses are like members of a band here, and what we need to do is get the band back together by finding their instruments. And so up here is another panic attack we'll have to take down, which is another one of those things where if we skip it, we just can't progress.
I don't know how that fish got there again.
The bus.
Or the bus. He calls it a bus. We don't get to hear that line.
Anyways, the quick kill panic attack. You light Raz on fire by walking into a skull and then walk into the panic attack.
And there it goes. Very silly.
What? Don't do that to try and get rid of panic attacks. I tried it. Didn't work out well.
I don't know.
All these are a good idea. Let's look here. Taste it.
And here, we're in the concession stands. I'm prop flying to these guys. They seem interesting.
This level is a great example of how prop flying just kind of goes nutty.
My instincts are telling me
The thing is, those jawbreakers do not break.
Now we are done with the second half of the second third of the level. We gotta go to the Ear Hand Shrine.
Yeah, all of this is happening very fast, so so much to explain.
This is some sort of speed run.
Yeah, we got to get through it very fast.
So up here are two amazing characters, Dr. Touch and Audio, and well, here's a really good line.
Sounds good to me.
He's an ear.
It's so funny. Anyways, we can skip the combat arena right up here just with a well-timed mushroom throw.
Yep.
And boom, we're basically done with the level. There's an absolute banger sung by Jack Black right there. Sorry, we're not going to hear it. But what we do learn is the true identity of who this brain is, because he kind of lost all his memories and whatnot just by being a brain in the jar. And through just helping him regain his senses, we help him just remember things, deal with his problems, and turns out he's exactly the kind of person who would have access to the mailroom. So we can use him in Nick's body to let us into Crawler's room.
Mm-hmm.
Can't let those intern credits go. Excuse me. Would you mind if I...
It's almost the last of Ford's levels.
It's the last actual level of Ford's. This one is all about just like sending messages and love and all that good stuff. Fortunately, we need to go fast. So,
there's a visible wall.
Fun.
We gotta go around it. There you go. Yeah, these obstacles don't actually move around unless we hit a certain part of the level. But we're not going to be seeing most
from the beginning to the halfway mark.
Yeah, just like in the Strike City bowling level, this is
something we can't skip. We have to go here, so it puts this letter in a typewriter down below. And in the typewriter, we need to address this letter to Lucy.
I don't think that's still too...
And if we didn't have this letter on this typewriter, it would also soft lock the game. So a lot of intended things that we require.
Did you find that out the hard way, Bites?
Oh yeah. After prop flying, we thought we cracked the code.
Right.
There were tricks people discovered where there are these super fast spinning star platforms. And you could like slow them down, stand on them, and then when they start to speed back up, jump, and they fling Raz. And people use that to fling to the end of the first part of the helmet level we just did. But because you never fought that first panic attack, you couldn't progress in the game.
Mm-hmm. And here this is like like an auto scroller where we just fall to the very bottom.
Is a super short story focus level that instead of falling slowly, we'll be doing a clip here so we can fall fast.
Yeah. So we're gonna wall jump above. Okay, there we go. And some wall jump tech here. Oh. No. Okay, that was not what's supposed to happen. I'll do it again. Please. These walls. Oh, very hard to climb. There you go. That should. No! How did I not get it?
In case you're wondering, this trick isn't any like crucial trick every speedrunner has to do on their first time going. It is a 7-second time save.
Please.
Maybe like 10 seconds optimally.
This was going so well. Man, I'll get it. Don't worry.
I believe.
Oh, you know what it is? I'm not doing climb cancel. I'm doing it way too late.
Oh, we never explained slam canceling. Fun fact, if you ground pound in this game, Raz goes up slightly before slamming down. If you can cancel it with the levitation float, so you go up slightly and then start floating. So you can use that everywhere in your movement to just be able to reach gaps, to cross gaps that were just barely uncrossable.
What am I? Okay.
Should we just...
One more time, and then I'll just... I think I was missing that step. Okay, well, we're not going to show it off.
All right, well, down we go.
Well, since we are falling at kind of this slow and beautiful pace, Bites, can I ask what got you interested in this speedrun specifically?
I really do focus on runs with really interesting movement options, and seeing that there's the side hops that you see, and there's more technical stuff, like that wall jump shenanigans that I was messing up. That's totally fine. But
no, it's fine. Don't even worry about it.
And the surfing as well, like going through so many long corridors, like, and going through an incredible story very fast. I just enjoy this game a lot. And just
even if you can't experience the story, there's so many fascinating and interesting locations that you can't skip in the speedrun.
Mm-hmm.
Now, is the speedrun community for this game pretty big, or is it kind of a smaller group?
I want to say it's pretty small. It's still growing for sure,
right.
Even after
a fairly new game, so it makes sense.
Yeah.
Agent Cruller?
But there are a handful of people that if anyone shows up asking like, "Hey, I'm down like speedrun this game," there are people who will just show up at any time and just be like, "Oh, heck yeah, we'll help you."
Yeah, very
nice,
welcoming.
I'm glad to hear that.
All right, so that level we discover that this character Lucy has this super dangerous psychic Maligula deep inside the back of her mind, and to seal her away forever, we need to fix that machine in that room, the astrolabe. To do that, we need to get rid of all the bees surrounding it and the vines surrounding it, and we can know. And in this room is someone who can help us with the vines, Bob Zanato. He has a bit of an alcohol problem, so that's the main theme of his level. He's isolated alone on this island and bottled up all of his memories and relationships. So we need to venture into those bottles and grab some seeds.
This bottle looks promising.
That's a very fun visual bug here. Levitating out of those boat doors. Just leaves Raz with his hands up. He's going for a very fun ride here.
Oh yeah, hands up, chat.
Right here is one of the only patch tricks in the entire run. Normally, if Raz gets grabbed by water and you activate a cutscene at the same time, you get water immunity. but it makes you very prone to soft locking, and you could actually discover it on a casual playthrough. So that's why they got rid of it. Only saves about 3-4 seconds in the ending percent run, if even. So, not the biggest deal, but it's interesting.
And here's
What's
another
not interesting is this guy.
Another RNG factor of this run. This enemy pretty much just chooses to give you the correct attack. You can just have a very extended staring contest with it until it gives us what we want. But right now, I'm very bad mood. And there you go. This is the attack we want.
Almost there. Let's see if we can get to
Use
the
clairvoyance on it to find its source and beat that up. Until it lets you do that, you're just kind of sitting there waiting.
Yeah. And here we're not going to use the door. We're just going to
Go right
go
back
straight
here
to the
the
bottle.
second bottle. And in this bottle, we will have to carry a bob bulb around. While you're doing this, you can't use your psychic abilities. But when you go off a cliff, you can actually still use levitation.
The funny thing with the water immunity that we mentioned before, since we don't have it in these current patches, if we activated water immunity, we would also be immune to the death planes on the ground. So you can kind of see if you fall off with the bulb, you're pretty much just resetting.
So this combat arena would have a second bad mood, but by standing in that spot, it spawns in the water. It instantly perishes.
So now all we have to do is just grab all the sensors, put them in the water,
And
combat
bada
done.
bing, bada boom.
Come on, killer.
And this next part is a much longer walk for Bob. There's
Yeah, this spot would
Just
be the most soft lock area in the previous patches.
It is very just when you go off the ledge and use levitation to float, you can do the slam cancel I mentioned earlier, gain some height, and keep going forward. That slam cancel for some reason feels a lot harder to do here than it is everywhere else.
Because you have to wait to actually fall, and that's very hard to determine. And here we're gonna cut some corners, speed up the process, escorting this bulb over to the pot.
Once we set him down, we can go and grab the second seed, which opens up the third and final bottle we need to go in. So here we're going to do a unique bit of tech called pressing the B button. What this does is significantly speeds up the boat. And this tech is so just hidden, the lead of this game didn't even know existed.
And using this visual bug
Here
again,
we go.
we're going for an actual ride down this bottle.
This is the first of many amusement park rides in this game.
Whee!
Oh.
Gonna try and grab all these figments.
Alright,
on the way
I
down.
think you did it. Heck yeah, all figments.
All of them. Down the hatch.
That is nothing, it's just really fun.
Let's go.
Alright, this is where water immunity would come into play. Before you could just go straight across the water, but now we have to do platforming. Gosh.
And that one was actually a very clean attempt.
Wait a minute.
In our speed
I
games.
don't know about this.
Right?
This cake, that was really fun. Something we learned in the documentary, that whole concept of just an infinitely going corner was supposed to happen in the first level. But they moved it to this one because they needed to finish that first level by E3 2019 and they just didn't have enough time.
My health is low. Getting that drop top. Another bad mood.
This one's source is always in the same spot.
I can find out what's causing it.
And if you know anything about this game's lore,
Wow. Remind
there's actually a reason that bad mood source is there. This is the memory of Bob's husband, Helmet, who sacrificed himself to save Bob in a battle against Maligula. And the bad mood source is at the table Maligula sits at. Dun dun dun. Alright, if we hit this in the right spot...
No. Okay,
that's a shame. If we hit that in the right spot, Raz would have gone flying upwards, and we could have just landed directly on this cake.
Can't always hit every trick in a run. That's okay. Gotta accept it sometimes.
When we crashed into the Champagne Tower. I'm fine though. Didn't feel a thing. You know what? Yeah, that's good.
Kind of ruined the cake with that. In that cutscene, he burps for all this platforming.
Yeah, it kind of destroys this whole thing. I wonder if it's a metaphor for his husband seemingly dying or something. I don't know.
Okay, I thought I'd almost skipped the trigger again. Okay.
This is a nice slow walk part. It's a very nice thing in the game. Speedrun setting. We gotta go fast. I'm sorry, Bob. I'm sorry, Helmet. Punch your way through, Raz.
And this will be the boss fight. I'm gonna upgrade this ability just once, just so I have...
It gives you a charge shot. The main thing of this fight is that first plant gives you a bunch of explosives you can pick up and just chuck. Which is basically all we do.
Yeah.
If you throw them while that plant's inhaling, it deals a lot of damage. And we also have to time how you throw them, because if you throw them too early or during specific animations, the boss just doesn't take damage. Now we get a break for another bad mood. Yay!
Oh, they broke my prop. I was gonna throw it at him.
Sorry, Bob.
he's in the thick of it.
Everything was so nice here before you
Hey.
Alright, here we go.
Where's the source? Oh, it's in the
in the worst spot. That sucks.
This is also
this bad
another
mood source can appear in 3 different spots. This is the worst one by far. Look how far out of the way it is.
Have some health because I'm pretty low
burn that
here.
out. That should be the last one. Nope, there's another
There
one.
you go.
Okay.
That one instant died. That was interesting.
Oh wow, there's a mini sensor. Okay. Alright. Now for this phase, the moth will try and attack you with a powder that reverses your controls. Well, it's also supposed to be a whole metaphor about alcoholism and being drunk. It also counts as a reference to the first game where one of the abilities you had was confusion, which is missing in this game.
Could there be throw these bombs? Yeah, okay.
And now for the last phase, the moth is just gone altogether. So, just chucking more explosive plants at Helmet. If you time the throws on the third plant right, you can get a shot, well, before it's inhaling and after it's inhaling. Normally, if you throw it in as it's inhaling, it does so much damage, it automatically triggers the next plant.
Now I just need some help with those killer bees.
Well, Bob's level is done, and now we need to go and get someone for the bees. And luckily, there is just the rider to do that. Cassiopeia. Just hanging out at the top of this honey-covered just building.
Prop line there skips going up this hill with a bunch of bees. And it's not a fun time going through there without the intended strat.
Cassie is one of... Cassie's thing with her head is she has a bunch of different archetypes. Basically, like, there's like... Everyone has archetypes. There's the you're with your family, with your friends, all that. And one of her archetypes is too busy organizing and sorting the others. Which also means she has a lot of enablers, the last enemy type. Those things can be really annoying because they dodge attacks constantly. But if you set them on fire, they're vulnerable to everything. This is also the level that has a ton of 2D sections, which is a main reason we never upgrade your melee move. The first upgrade for melee is a dodge attack, which cancels out that dodge cancel tech we can do at the beginning.
Yeah.
And now we have the projection ability.
What a good boy.
My favorite fun fact, Raz's voice actor is Richard Horvitz, the person who voices Invader Zim. And the projection is voiced by the guy who voiced Gurr.
Nice. Thanks for the fun fact.
Unfortunately, projection is literally one of those abilities where it's only necessary in the spots that just flat out require it.
I can't do wall jumps.
We can jump over this gate to skip needing to do this, but no matter what, we will have to use projection to open that door. There's just no way around that.
Things are going on with my wall jumps this run. I'm not
Down here, we got some more enemies, including enablers. They just love to run.
Nothing to enable there.
For reference, enablers, if we actually give them enough time to exist, what they do is they pick one or multiple enemies and make them completely invincible. And, well, yeah, that can be really annoying. Another thing we need projection for. And this will take us to the final part of, like, the first half of the level. Which is one of the rare instances where we actually do a bit of platforming instead of prop flying.
Just a little bit.
Look at that one jump. Isn't it incredible?
That's some very quick platforming there.
Just one more book to go. You're right on the
And now we can get to the second half of this area, where we need to get the counterfeiter aspect of Cassie to join us, but she will only do so if we can find pieces of evidence against the what she's working for. And that manifests itself into the most interesting part of this area. So right after this book, we will be in Waterfront, home of some of the best prop fly objects in the whole game.
These boxes, they never freak out until I throw them. Which, like, with every other prop, they would spin out of control.
This first piece of evidence, normally you have to take a bottom exit and work your way up the 2D area, but we can just take the top entrance. None of the other two pieces of evidence work like this, though.
Yeah, these ones, you're required to go in through one and out. And
this is a perfect example of why we keep dodge canceling. Fall damage check. Oh, I see. He'll avoid the fall damage, will you? Luckily, when you grab evidence, it auto-saves. And so you can quit to tile, jump back in, and you don't have to walk back out the book. You just get placed right outside the door. Boom. Now we go to the last piece of evidence, hanging out in this room. And when we do the quit to tile trick after the autosave once again, because it's the last piece of evidence, it'll actually place us outside of the door to Waterfront as a whole, aka the boss. And to take this boss down, we will upgrade Telekinesis and Psyblast one last time each. The Telekinesis upgrade makes it recharge significantly faster. Psyblast gives it +1 ammo. And as you can see, the way we fight this boss is by spamming Telekinesis and Psyblast. The enabler has a chance. If you're slow enough, the enabler will make Cassie invincible, but you can just burn it and keep focusing casting down. Once you reach a third of her health, she becomes vulnerable to the projection ability. And it's once again, you just have to go up, use projection, but projection stays out afterwards, and if it gets killed, its recharge time is significantly longer than if you just put projection away manually.
Okay.
That ruler is very important. It yells like it just does a ton of damage. And so we want it to land, so we actually have the ability to pick it up and
That's
boom.
a big chunk right there. And also,
It's
I was
so fast.
I was
We're still waiting for
unequipping.
projections to recharge.
Yeah. After every phase, I'm unequipping the projection just so if it ever dies, the respawn and cooldown is much longer. So we don't want that.
You saw how long we had to wait just even after we put projection away? We have to wait longer if it does.
Yeah.
Well, second to last level of the game. We use the astrolabe on Lucy's mind, and in it is another mental construct to make her believe she's part of Raz's family in the circus. So we need to appease her by doing 3 circus acts. And we've already done one of them. I love how fast things go.
Yep. Speedball.
Wheel of Endangerment.
There's Raz's entire family as fleas.
It's a flea circus. And last thing we need to do is we need to come over here and slow down the Carousel of Chaos.
I thought I slowed it down. No. Okay, that's fine. Now the entrance is on the other side.
This is also a super short level because after this, it's basically just a combat arena. But it's one of what I like to. It's the first of what I like to call the big 3. The next 3 combat arenas are easily the hardest ones in the game, and it's where you really need to use all of your combat knowledge.
There's the longest
So
ladder.
one of the most fun things about combat in this game is nothing is exclusive. Basically, when you're using one ability, you can use the other 3 you have currently equipped. So while you're punching an enemy, there's nothing stopping you from also shooting them with Side Blast at the same time and picking up another object with telekinesis, as long as it's not stuck to the ground. In addition, the environment can matter a lot, because this combat arena will have puddles of water in it, which we can use those with mental connection and instantly kill a panic attack. So we keep doing that while combining pyrokinesis to take down all of the doubts as fast as we can.
I'm stuck on the fire. Okay. Sometimes it can be used against us.
It's also a reason why we don't upgrade mental connection, because the first tick of it makes Raz slap enemies after he pulls them up, which pushes them away.
It's a judge. Oh, he's jumping.
Oh. Thank you, Judge.
Oh my god. I've never seen the judge do that before. So they don't like water as well. So like in the cooking level, pushing them off is the fastest way to kill it. And I guess I didn't need to do anything there.
The good news is this is the last bad mood of the game. The final level doesn't actually contain any.
Yep.
So because of its existence, it doesn't matter truly how fast we do this, as long as we do it before that attack. And boom. We are done with Lucy's level. And the next level, I'll buckle in because we might be there for a bit.
Now this one, this is probably like the longest level in the run. Just for one reason alone.
It is the mind of the game's main antagonist.
I need to see
And
what's going. I need to go in.
it's basically all just his elaborate plan throughout the game. And unfortunately, that plan is described in 3 separate 3-minute long unskippable cutscenes. Know how I said this is the first of many amusement park rides? Here's the second.
Sit back, relax, and enjoy the ride.
Glory to Grulovia.
Also a musical. There's the real cool down section of the run where it's right at the end. So you use all your energy in the beginning.
Take a potty break, grab a snack, jam out. There's a lot of things you can do. And even if this does kind of explain the whole plan of the main antagonist, once again, there's so much nuance and stuff in this game that you can't ever cover that stuff in the speedrun, really. So, huge recommendation to go check this game out if you can. If you have Game Pass, it's on that. Yeah. Shoutouts to this portal. One of our members in the speedrun community pointed out that corner on the side there's a huge lighting difference. And now I can't unsee it.
Honestly, the way they use the portals in this game is very clever. Just the way they're stitched together like that. Like there's a portal on that door. There's always places that you're not supposed to be at.
One of my favorite collectibles is, so on the left side we had just like one diorama, but as we go across here and look, there will be another diorama there. They're basically filling the same exact space, which is exactly how they're using portals, and by just being able to recognize that happens, there's a major collectible behind that second portal, which is right there. There's a piece of emotional baggage hanging out back there. We can't see it because it's behind that pillar.
You're not supposed to see it here. Like squinting my eyes, see if I can actually spot it, but I don't think it'll be there.
Yeah.
My favorite voice line in the game, or second favorite. Just that. It's just a scream.
Thank you, Rez. Alright. So, we're almost done with the first auto-scroller. Yay. And normally what you're supposed to do is go around this whole area and platform up to this power box. Luckily, we have flings at our disposal.
Yeah, we're trying to
so
get
instead of doing platforming, just do this.
Please. Please. Okay. That one. There you go.
There we go. Boom.
Get back to the ride, but it's still broken.
And now we have the second combat encounter of the game.
On here, you can actually manipulate most of the spawns, but in this case, we're just going to battle it through.
It is just mini sensors and regular sensors. There's no high priority targets.
There's a lot of help just from these guys. Where's... Okay, I thought there was one
Phase 2, Wave 2. This has a heavy sensor included in the mix. I think that's the main thing.
Yeah. He's always spinning.
And it's always all the way back there.
He'll make his way over.
The main thing with these combat arenas is, especially in this one, there are a bunch of smaller grunts that will spawn constantly. Nice. There's a bunch of smaller grunts that will spawn constantly, and so even though the bigger grunts have a lot of health, there can only be not four, but a specific number of these small sensors out at a specific time. So you don't necessarily need to prioritize the high health targets, because you just still need to whittle down all of their health. And with that, we use spawn manipulation by angling the camera at a specific time to get a judge to spawn right next to the water.
I was really worried I was going to get that enabler to stay alive. It's very tricky to actually hit every attack of these enemies.
On the last wave of this run, we'll be of this arena. It's just a whole lot of doubts. They just keep coming. Okay. And with that,
we get
to the next auto scroller. Let's
the
go.
next ride. We get more plot.
Yeah.
It's Maligula.
If there's any questions or anything you'd like to ask as well, this is a perfect time.
The Psychonauts burn.
This is my personal favorite level. Not of the run, just in the game. It's got a really nice and weird vibe to it.
It's giving me like it's a small world after all kind of vibes. Like I don't know if any of you have actually been on that ride, but the vibes are definitely there.
I have not, but I've heard so much about it.
It's been a long time.
Yeah, haven't been to Disney in a while, that's for sure.
Yeah.
If only the Tsar had supported her more, not turned his back
Yeah,
on her
it's a small world, but egg themed.
So, like, what
Egg
exactly
themed.
are you? I guess there must be like a point, right, to going through all of this. Like, what are they trying to show you?
Okay, so this is the mind of a man named Gristle Malik. He was the son of a ruler of the country of Grulovia, which used and abused Lucy, whose mind we were just in, to basically use her powerful water psychic abilities to threaten the whole country by force. But eventually, Maligula grew too powerful, flooded the whole country, causing their family to run. But Gristle is a spoiled little brat narcissist who doesn't have a single happy thought. Everything is about him. The only thing he loves in life is caviar.
Oh, wow, okay.
So he enacts a plan to kind of swap his brain with the head of the Psychonauts in order to get close to Ford Cruller, the only person who knows where Maligula is, and use that knowledge to, get her back and use her to take over the world.
That's quite a scheme.
Yeah.
We learned it all from here.
Unfortunately, we don't know where Truman's brain actually is. Because, so that's the main reason we're in here. If we can get to Gristle at the end of this ride, we can confront him and ask him, where is Truman Zanato's brain? In this specific situation, we can't continue the ride because the Propagandaneer needs an egg. He doesn't know where to find one, but Gristle told him the best eggs he found were in the ocean, which in this case represents the casino that we were in earlier.
Depends.
And he's gonna feed us some caviar.
Yeah, caviar.
And the caviar, yeah.
And this is one of the best tricks in the run.
And so now we got a warped ball, so now we're speed egging. And here you can see these spinning fans. We're not going to use this one, but we're going to use this next set here.
It's spinning in just the right direction.
And
no!
That was not supposed to happen. Hold on. We'll get there.
Now, are these like tilt controls, or you're still using
joystick?
Oh, this joystick. Oh gosh, if this was tilt controls.
Could you imagine if it was tilt controls though?
Oh no.
That would be.
Here we go.
There
That's probably too high. We're good.
It's fine.
All right.
Yeah, hold one.
It's good.
The origin of that trick came from the first set of fans, where they used those fans to go straight into that cutscene.
They didn't even have speedballing, so they just had to get the perfect angle from the very beginning.
And we haven't been able to.
Anyone's even attempted to recreate it.
Yeah, recreating that is very hard, but for the distance and height that I got, it's good enough.
One of my favorite details of this level, it really showcases how egotistical Gristle is. Once the song starts singing about Gristle, you can hear him sing along.
It's a great detail. Also,
right here.
It's Elijah Wood.
Elijah Wood.
It's impressive that you can sing bad on purpose, but still make it sound good. Just makes you want to sing along.
Literally created the song in his head and he can't sing along. Good job, Gristle. Yeah, and this last part of the ride showcases his exact plan of infiltrating the Psychonauts.
This is the area from the first game. Whispering Rock. You can see all
we got figments of some of everyone's favorite camp members, specifically Dogen and Bobby.
There he is. Dogen in the back, in the red. He's gone.
Crystal
No.
Malik dove straight into the belly of the beast itself, infiltrating the Psychonauts in their filthy lair.
There he goes, Crystal. His whole plan even fits into the name that you know him as beforehand, because he is Nick Johnsmith. It's the name literally created when someone probably asked him, "What's your name?" And he just on the spot just picked 3 first names, called it a day. Good job, Crystal.
Once insinuated into their organization, the
And not much you can really see around here, other than what we're supposed to look at. Just
What are
stealing
we
a
in, by
brain.
the way? Is it a teacup? Is it a
It's
bowl?
Half an egg.
It's an egg.
Half an egg, okay.
This guy loves his eggs. Everything. Look, there's
See the
eggs
eggs
on
on
the
stage.
puppet thing. The objects you break for health during the combat arena, they're eggs.
They're everywhere. He's obsessed.
The crown his family wears, they're basically just big eggs. And here we are, the last combat arena of the game. First phase is pretty simple, bad ideas and sensors. But second phase has panic attacks with no way to kill them easily, so we have to once again resort to the trick we did in Helmet.
Get away from me. I'm gonna
But
grab
now that there's
some
2 panic attacks, it's a lot more difficult.
Safety.
It's also for these final arenas that we grab that side pop really early in the run. They just give you a free healing item.
Oh my.
And wow.
He did not want to cooperate with
sometime-
me. This is unfortunate.
There's also
I got
probably some RNG based in these combat arenas, especially this one. Just in, well, how much the panic attacks like to cooperate.
Where's he at? Okay. Please. Why didn't he shoot?
Oh, that happens sometimes.
He's not shooting. Please. He's just a bully right now.
Oh.
Get rid of
Come
this
on.
guy.
Come on, buddy.
Hello?
What?
Where is he? What is he doing?
What? Well, get
there we
close
go.
to him, maybe. There we go. All right.
And he's still okay. I was gonna say he's
There
still
we
not
go.
gonna die. We got it. We got it.
And the last one is just a judge and heavy sensor, which we can use just all our funny little abilities and take them down easily. Shame the mallet went away. Throwing the mallet at the judge deals a really good chunk of its health instantly.
This was a very unlucky combat phase. I don't know what was going on with the panic attacks. Almost made me
Now we
panic
got-
myself. But
You can fling over here, and shout out to whoever made the gravity system in the game. They did a good job. Like, the fact this works is incredible.
you skip a lot more plot and some
And we jump here,
platforming.
boom. Now we ride the ride one last time, but thankfully we can skip the second half of this one. One of my favorite parts of the game, right behind that corner. There he is.
I just realized that tune has bagel in it. That's one of the devs. He's not even dead. He just made all the art for this game. That's a neat detail. Details even I missed from playing this game so many times.
When practicing this run for right now, we were hearing lines we've never heard before. There's so much in this game. It's insane.
How many hours would you say that both of you have put into this game?
I have about 200 to 300
Okay.
on Steam.
I'm sure I have 300 by now.
Okay, that's very respectable, gamers. Very nice.
We game a little.
Here we are. We finally get confront Nick Johnsmith.
At the gift shop.
If you skip his dialogue too fast, for some reason you can't skip the next thing he says.
Hated the map. I've had enough of this.
Which is really funny because then you just hear him just yell, "I had a cotton candy machine in my bedroom." There's nothing you can do about it.
That's pretty good.
I should have let it happen, but we move on. Here, Maligula is free and wreaking some
She's
havoc
back
here.
because Gristle didn't really think through his plan too well. If we land on this corner and then get grabbed by the tornado, we got a checkpoint and gotta just skip the rest of that little platforming area.
Usually, if we go through that, normally there's a cutscene that shows us that we can get upgrades. And
Probably saves us like 10 seconds.
Yeah.
But in here, we're at Maligula's mind. We're supposed to go around, or we can just jump straight back to the end of this very first part and trigger the fight instantly.
And this is the final boss of the game.
Unfortunately, it's a bit of an auto-scroller.
Yet another one.
There's
this one is not
only
that bad.
so much damage Maligula can take in this form, so you'll notice the Side Blast will eventually just do nothing. And what's actually happening is we are on a moving platform down a river. And the next phase of the fight triggers when the platform reaches the bridge in the distance, which will trigger a humanoid phase from the Maligula fight, which we can actually go fast in. In specific, we can slow her down with Time Bubble, pick up an object with Telekinesis, chuck at her to stun her again, and then punch her and spam Side Blast to deal as much damage as possible. That's all going to happen right now.
And there's that combat phase. And then now, I did not mean to.
Rinse and repeat.
Menu there. Every combat phase is always going to be the same.
The big thing in this fight, though, is every one of her attacks does a full brain of damage, which makes it really dangerous.
Really trying hard to not get hit here.
It's one of those things that's easy to do, but you can also really start overthinking it, especially at the end of a run. And uh-oh, you're one hit away. Alright. Those floating cars are where the next humanoid phase is.
And here I'm just slowing her down just so she doesn't do this attack too soon. Doesn't really matter that much, but I like to live a little longer. And here's gonna be the next
Alright,
combat
next
phase.
humanoid phase right up here.
Yeah, if I don't slow her down or stun her, she goes into like an invincible state and tries to attack Raz.
This final phase, we can't actually finish her often. We just have to once again wait for the platform to reach the cars in the distance.
Anything I do here doesn't really matter.
It's fun just watch the health bar go down.
Yeah.
And now we reach the final part. Time is coming up very soon. Mabigula.
And time will be
Two
coming
pyro
soon on
breaths.
this last cutscene.
Punch combo.
This final combo.
Alright.
And time.
Nice, GG. I would say that you blew past your estimate, so very nice job. It's always a plus.
Yeah.
I don't think.
So, Bites, do you have any shout-outs, comments you want to give our viewers before we wrap it up tonight?
Shoutouts to the Discord in our community in the Psychonauts area. It's combined with both Psychonauts 1 and 2. So whichever game you ever decide to learn, get the best of both worlds.
Oh, nice, yeah. Well, thank you both so
You
much
can
for
always
being
pop
here.
in that news.
Thanks for
Wait,
having
what?
me.
I was just saying, and yeah, pop and see the strats of the game you don't run, just out of pure curiosity.
Are they similar, like that 1 and 2?
No.
Oh, not at all. Okay.
The first game was released in 2005. Second was 2021. That alone, they work completely differently.
Yeah, that's a good indication of just how much the game or the series has changed, I'm sure. But But yeah, I really enjoyed this speedrun. I think my friends, I might have to pick this one up. It's really cool.
Heck yes. This game is super fun. We didn't get to hear a lot of the dialogue, but it's also super funny.
Oh yeah, and it sounds like you could play it quite a few times before absorbing everything. So that's fun. We love a replayability in our games, don't we? But
there's also just a lot of stuff where you take it in, then you're doing something else, thinking about the game, and something just clicks. It's like, oh, never thought about it that way.
Well, I appreciate you both being here and all of the knowledge. Incredible. Like, 200, 300 hours in the game, you're going to know a lot about it. So I'm really glad you were able to be with us and show it off. But unfortunately, my friends, that is going to wrap it up on tonight's episode of Time Capsule. We appreciate you very much for watching. If you are watching this on YouTube in the future, be sure to press the like button on this video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And if you're interested in catching our shows live, you can always check us out, twitch.tv/gamesdonequick. We start our shows weeknights at 7 p.m. Eastern, weekends at 1 p.m. Eastern. So tune in tomorrow for How to Train a Speedrunner, followed by Speedruns from the Crypt. That all starts at 7 p.m. Eastern. I have been your host, Smooth Operative. Thank you so much for being here again. Have a beautiful day or night. Make sure you follow It's Bites and Peakman Fan 2002 here on Twitch, and we will see you next time. Goodbye.
Bye.
Adios.